My GF filed a restraining order, claiming I was abusive for questioning her luxury spending, expecting to trap me. Instead, she trapped herself. The court order became my greatest weapon, and I didn't even have to lift a finger. Hey, Reddit. So, I got served with a restraining order at work by my girlfriend of 3 years. The claim, that I was emotionally abusive for asking about her spending habits. Instead of fighting it, I decided to comply with it 100%. Turns out giving someone exactly what they asked for can unravel their entire world faster than anything else. You ever get blindsided in the middle of a regular workday, standing there holding a piece of paper that basically says, "Congrats, you're now the villain in somebody's fantasy"? Yeah, that was me. It was a Thursday afternoon. My team was prepping slides for a 3 p.m. presentation, and our receptionist calls me down. Her voice had that tone people use when they don't want to be part of whatever's about to happen. I walked down thinking maybe it's a package. Nope. Guy in a cheap suit is standing there holding papers like it's Christmas morning and I'm his favorite delivery stop. Evan Torres, he says, like he's not holding my name in bold letters right there. I nod. He hands me a stack of documents and then he's gone before the automatic doors finish closing. Smooth. I skim the first page and nearly laugh out loud in the lobby. My girlfriend, well ex now, Sandy Tate, had filed an emergency protective order against me. 3 years together, and apparently I'm such a dangerous monster, she had to run to the court system. The abuse, she claimed, texts where I asked her why she spent $1,800 at Bloomingdale's when she'd been crying broke the week before. Another smoking gun was an email where I suggested we set up a budget. A budget? Apparently, Microsoft Excel is domestic terrorism now. According to Sandy, my asking questions like, "Didn't you say you couldn't afford your car payment?" while she was rocking brand new designer shoes was controlling behavior. She said I interrogated her about every purchase, creating a hostile environment. Hostile environment, lady. I was paying for that environment. Let me break it down for you. She had 4 credit cards in her name. All of them I'd been paying off every month. Her luxury apartment? Lise had my name as guarantor because her credit was already a dumpster fire before I showed up. Her car insurance? On my policy. Phone plan? On my account. Streaming services, groceries, even random Target runs? Me. I wasn't just her boyfriend. I was basically a one-man bailout program. So yeah, when she dropped $1,800 at Bloomingdale's while claiming she couldn't afford gas, I asked questions. And now, legally speaking, that made me abusive. Cute. The restraining order spelled it all out. I had to stay 100 yards away. No direct or indirect contact. Basically, she wanted me erased from her life. Except, of course, she still expected my wallet to hang around. That was the part that made me grin like an idiot in the middle of my office lobby. She had no clue what she'd just triggered. See, I'm not the type to cry, argue, or beg. That's wasted energy. Sandy wanted space? Fine. She'd get more space than she could handle. I walked right back upstairs, sat down at my desk, opened my banking apps, and got to work like I was about to run a hostile takeover. Step 1. All 4 credit cards, canceled payments. They were in her name, not mine. Perfectly legal. She can explain the balances to Visa herself now. Step 2. Car insurance. Removed her as an authorized driver. Enjoy calling around for your own policy, princess. Step 3. Lease guarantee. The lease was up for renewal in about a month, and I told the complex I wouldn't be resigning as guarantor. That gave Sandy 30 days to either qualify on her own credit or rope in another cosigner. When she failed, the landlord issued a pay or quit notice, then filed in housing court. A couple of weeks later, the judge signed off on the eviction. About 6 weeks after I'd pulled out, deputies were standing in her living room while she screamed about being punished for independence. Step 4. Every subscription she mooched, Netflix, Hulu, Disney+, HBO, passwords changed before she could even pick a show. Phone plan? Scheduled removal at the next billing cycle. Within an hour, I had severed every financial tie. My inbox filled with confirmation emails, each one sweeter than the last. I forwarded them all to my personal email like I was collecting trophies. And here's the thing, while all this was happening, I wasn't angry. I was actually calm, focused, almost entertained. Because if she wanted to paint me as controlling, what better way to prove I wasn't than by giving her total financial independence? No more scary questions about money. No more hostile environment. Just her and her bills, happily ever after. Meanwhile, I still had to go into that 3 p.m. meeting. My coworkers had no idea I'd just been legally accused of being an abusive sugar daddy. I walked in, nailed the presentation, got a couple compliments from my boss, and carried on like nothing happened because honestly, it was nothing to me anymore. That night, my phone stayed silent. No texts, no calls. I treated it like it worked both ways. For my sanity, zero contact from me and zero access for her. For the first time in years, my evening was peaceful. No, can you send me money for this? No, babe, my card got declined again. Just silence, and it was beautiful. I sat there thinking about all the times I'd pulled her out of financial quicksand. Every time she swore she'd pay me back but never did. Every time she told me I didn't support her dreams if I asked why those dreams required Louis Vuitton. And now, after all of that, she thought filing a restraining order would keep the free ride going. I almost wanted to send her a thank you note. Thanks for the court-ordered excuse to stop funding your lifestyle. Best legal document I ever got. But I didn't, of course. No contact means no contact. And for once, I was more than happy to play by the rules. Friday morning, I rolled into the office like nothing happened. Presentation had gone great. Boss was happy. Life was normal, at least for me. Apparently, not for everyone else. I walk past the break room and hear whispers drop dead silent the second I grab coffee. A couple of coworkers had apparently seen me get served in the lobby yesterday, and now the rumor mill was in full swing. One guy even asked me in this fake casual tone, "Hey, everything good?" I just smirked and said, "Yeah, better than ever." "Why?" And left him hanging. If they wanted to invent drama, let them. I wasn't going to give them the satisfaction of looking rattled. Confidence shuts people up faster than explanations. When I got back to my desk, I opened my banking apps again. Yesterday was the first round of cuts. Today was cleanup. Auto transfers? Gone. She had 3 of them set up, $300 for groceries, $250 for gas, and $400 that was supposedly for student loans, but magically always went to Sephora. Click. Cancel. Confirm. It felt like deleting spam emails. Around lunch, my phone buzzed with the first ripple from her camp. Unknown number, but the text was pure Sandy style. "Can't believe you'd really do this to her. She stood up for herself, and you're leaving her with nothing. Real men don't act like this." Screenshot. Save. Done. Restraining order says no indirect contact. Her friend texting me on her behalf? That's indirect contact. Every one of those little sympathy plays was just more ammo for me later. By mid-afternoon, I got a call from the apartment complex. Adrian, the property manager, had this almost cheerful tone like he'd been waiting to make this call all day. "Mr. Torres, I received your request to withdraw as guarantor. Once your 30 days are up, Miss Tate will need to either qualify on her own or secure a new guarantor." "And if she can't?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. "Then she'll need to vacate the premises or face eviction proceedings." Beautiful. I thanked him, asked for written confirmation, and filed it away with the rest of my digital receipts. Paper trails are my love language. The rest of that day was oddly peaceful. For the first time in 3 years, my bank account wasn't bleeding for someone else's shopping sprees. I sat at my desk, did my actual job, and realized how much mental energy I used to waste worrying if she was blowing through money again. Now, not my problem. The silence from her side was louder than anything, and I enjoyed every second of it. That evening, I treated myself. Nothing crazy. I just stopped at an electronics store on the way home and bought a new set of headphones I'd been eyeing. Funny how easy it is to afford things when you're not covering another adult's designer habit. Walked into my apartment, set them up, put on some music, and cooked dinner like a normal human being. No begging texts, no guilt trips, no drama, just peace. Saturday morning, the storm clouds started rolling. Not literally, just in the form of a phone call from a lawyer. Guy introduced himself as Henry Hutchkins, representing Miss Sandy Tate. His voice had that fake calm lawyers use when they know they're about to ask for something ridiculous. "Mr. Torres, I believe there's been a misunderstanding regarding the protective order." I leaned back in my chair, sipping coffee. What misunderstanding? It seemed pretty clear. No contact. Yes. Well, my client has discovered some complications. Several of her financial accounts seem to have been closed. Correct. I stopped making voluntary payments on her credit cards. But she relied on those payments. I replied, then she should have thought about that before filing a restraining order claiming those payments were abusive. Silence. I could hear him blinking on the other end. Finally, he stammered, "Surely, we can work something out." "No need. I'm complying fully with the order. No contact, no relationship, no financial support." I wouldn't want her to feel unsafe. The sputtering that followed was priceless. Something about bad faith and retaliatory. I cut him off. Henry, she wanted distance. I'm giving her distance. Isn't that the point? Then I wished him a good weekend and hung up. 20 minutes later, my phone started lighting up again. Friends of hers, numbers I didn't recognize. All sending guilt trip texts. She just needs help until she gets back on her feet. You're ruining her life. My favorite one, you can't just take away her Netflix. That's cruel. Screenshot. 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 Every message was basically them admitting she was panicking because the free ride ended. That was the moment it really clicked. She thought this was a game. She thought she could throw legal paperwork at me, keep my money, and still come out looking like the victim. But the thing about playing games with someone smarter than you, they know how to follow the rules in a way that still wins. And me, I was just getting started. Monday morning rolled around, and my inbox already had a comedy special waiting for me. Henry, her bargain bin lawyer, had sent over an official letter on letterhead like he thought paper and a logo would scare me. The demand: reinstate financial support for a reasonable transition period. Translation: keep being her ATM while she figures out how to manipulate the next guy. I laughed, drafted a 3-sentence reply, then forwarded it to James to send on my behalf. Per the restraining order, I cannot have any contact or relationship with Miss Tate. Financial support would constitute a relationship. I am fully complying with the order. Done. I swear I could feel the steam coming off Henry's bald little head when James hit send. That was just the warm-up. Around lunchtime, my phone started lighting up like I'd posted free PlayStations on Craigslist. Random numbers texting paragraphs of nonsense. All different people, all saying the same thing. She just needs a little help until she gets back on her feet. You're really going to leave her with nothing after 3 years? One of them actually said, you can't just take away her Disney Plus. That one almost killed me. Imagine thinking streaming services are a human right. I screenshotted everything. Restraining order says no direct or indirect contact. Her little army of minions texting me counts as indirect contact. They weren't helping her. They were building my evidence folder for me. By Tuesday, it got even better. Her best friend Kate decided to take her pity party public on Instagram. She wrote this long paragraph about how toxic men weaponize money when they get called out for abuse. She even used hashtags like #survivor and #financialabuse. It would have been funny enough on its own, but then she made the fatal mistake. She attached screenshots of Sandy's own texts to her. Right there, plain as day, Sandy had written, he cancelled everything. I can't even watch Netflix. Another one said, I told you the restraining order would make him pay attention, but now he won't even pay my cards. And the best one, the lawyer says since he's not legally obligated, he can just stop. This backfired so bad. I couldn't have scripted it better. People in the comments started clowning her instantly. Kate deleted the post within an hour, but not before the screenshots made their way to me. I forwarded them to my lawyer with a smile on my face. Free evidence, courtesy of her best friend. That same afternoon, Adrian from the apartment complex called me again. At this point, I almost looked forward to his updates because the guy delivered them with the enthusiasm of someone narrating a game show. Mr. Torres, I'm required to inform you that Miss Tate has not provided alternative qualification or a new guarantor. She has 23 days remaining. I told him to send me written confirmation, which he did. Then his voice dropped like he couldn't wait to spill some extra gossip. Also, she came in with her mother today. There was an incident. Turns out her mom, Donna, tried to forge my signature on the lease renewal paperwork. They had security cameras. They had my real signature on file. And the forgery looked like it was done with a crayon. Their legal department was already sending it to local authorities. I almost felt bad for the poor receptionist who had to watch that circus in real time. Almost. So, let's recap where we were by midweek. Her lawyers begging me to send money. Her friends are accidentally giving me evidence. Her best friend torpedoed her credibility online. Her mom is now potentially facing fraud charges for trying to scribble my name on legal documents. And me? I was sitting on my couch with a brand new pair of headphones I bought, using money I wasn't wasting on her, cooking dinner in peace, watching this all unravel like it was free entertainment. Here's the thing about people like Sandy and Donna. They've lived their whole lives thinking rules don't apply to them. They lie, they spend, they manipulate, and somebody else always cleans up the mess. The restraining order was supposed to scare me into being that cleanup guy forever. Instead, it gave me the perfect exit. No guilt, no strings, no maybe I should help just a little. Every attempt they made to claw back control just dug them deeper into their own mess. By the time I shut down my laptop that Friday, I realized something. For the first time in years, I wasn't stressed about someone else's chaos. My bills were my bills. My money was my money.
And Sandy?
She was drowning. And every move she made to grab onto me was just another violation of the very order she filed. The dominoes were tipping, and I was more than happy to watch them fall. By the next week, the panic started leaking through every corner of her life. First came another call from Henry, her bargain bin lawyer. This time, he didn't even bother with the fake confident tone. He sounded like a guy trying to keep a customer from canceling their cable plan. "Mr. Torres, my client is prepared to drop the restraining order if you agree to resume financial support." That one nearly made me spit coffee all over my desk. The irony was perfect. She filed paperwork claiming I was abusive, but now she wanted to trade it away in exchange for money. I told him calmly, almost politely, that the order was for her protection. I wouldn't dare make her feel unsafe by having it dissolved early. If she felt threatened, it was in her best interest to keep it in place. He stammered something about mutual dissolution, and I said, "No thanks. I'd adjusted just fine." He didn't know what to say after that. Silence is a beautiful thing. While Henry flailed, Sandy's finances started collapsing like a tent in the wind. On Tuesday morning, I got tipped off through a mutual friend's Instagram story. A tow truck hauling off her car in broad daylight. Bright orange sticker on the windshield. Her standing on the curb looking furious, recording the driver like it was going to change anything.
That was pure karma.
Turns out she hadn't made a payment in 4 months. She'd been using the money I gave her for car payments to buy purses, shoes, and trips with her friends. Without my deposits, there was nothing left to cover the hole. Kate tried to spin it on her Instagram with a sob story about how abusers take women's transportation to isolate them, but the comment section wasn't having it. One guy flat out asked, "Wait, if he was paying for her car and stopped, how's that abuse? Isn't that just her bill?" That comment got more likes than Kate's post itself. The whole thing disappeared within hours.
It didn't stop there.
Her credit cards started failing one by one. I wasn't even trying to keep tabs, but word travels fast when drama is this juicy. Friends of hers let it slip that she'd maxed out all her cards in 3 days. Apparently, she went on a panic shopping spree, thinking I'd cave and bail her out like always. Instead, she got hit with declined transactions and overdraft fees. I almost wished I'd been there to see her face at the checkout counter when the plastic stopped working.
Almost.
Then came the call I'd been waiting for. Adrian, the apartment manager, rang me up. "Mr. Torres, I thought you should be updated. Ms. Tate's guarantor paperwork has been referred to the police. We have clear evidence of attempted forgery and multiple fraudulent signatures." I leaned back in my chair with the biggest grin. He explained that Donna, her mother, had tried not once, but several times to forge my signature. Lease renewal forms, fake proof of insurance documents, even one where she scribbled my name to make it look like I'd authorized her as some kind of guardian for Sandy. Guardian for a 28-year-old woman. She left the paperwork at the leasing office to pass off as legit, but they had my real signature on file and cameras rolling. The complex sent everything straight to their legal department and then to the cops. When the police dug in, it only got worse for them. Sandy claimed she had no idea what her mom was up to, but the subpoenaed text messages told the real story.
"Mom, just sign it.
He won't notice. His signature is easy. If you do the insurance thing, I can get my car back." That line was a personal favorite. The level of stupidity it takes to text something like that blows my mind. Henry must have seen those texts, too, because by Friday, he officially withdrew as her lawyer. Apparently, being tied to clients engaged in identity theft wasn't worth risking his license.
Can't blame him.
Her replacement attorney was a guy named Rick, who looked like he advertised on late-night TV. First thing he did was send me some laughable demand letter about emergency spousal-like support due to her dire circumstances. My lawyer, James, didn't even need an hour to fire back. Our client notes that requesting financial support from someone Miss Tate claims is abusive would place her in further danger. We cannot in good conscience facilitate such a reckless request. That was legal speak for, not a chance. While all this chaos unfolded on her end, my life was doing the opposite. I'd signed up for a cooking class, started hitting the gym again, and finally bought myself that espresso machine I'd been eyeing. Money I used to funnel into her black hole of debt and handbags was now fueling my own upgrades. It was insane how fast my savings piled up once I wasn't covering another adult's lifestyle. At work, people noticed I seemed lighter, more focused. They thought it was just the headphones I bought or the fact that I'd been smiling more. They had no idea it was because I wasn't paying $3,500 a month to keep someone else's credit alive. By the end of the month, the scorecard looked like this. Sandy had no car, maxed out credit cards, a landlord counting down eviction days, and a mom now facing criminal charges. Her lawyer had bailed, her new one was hopeless, her friends were backing off, and her public sob stories kept blowing up in her face. On my side, a clean slate, peace at home, and a stack of evidence so thick no judge on earth would buy her narrative again.
The best part?
I hadn't lifted a finger beyond complying with her own restraining order.
I didn't chase her.
I didn't argue.
I didn't even text.
I just stayed away like she asked. And every time she tried to pull me back in, she dragged herself deeper into the hole. Watching her world unravel without me was like the best show I never had to pay for. And the season finale? It was only just getting started. Sandy must have realized the walls were closing in because her next move was straight desperation. She launched a GoFundMe with the title, "Help a DV Survivor Escape Financial Abuse." The write-up read like a bad melodrama. She claimed she'd finally stood up to my years of emotional and financial control. And in retaliation, I had cruelly cut off her lifeline. She asked for $10,000 to rebuild her life. The photo she posted was the cherry on top, a sad selfie in a hoodie with no makeup, like she was trying to look like she just walked out of a shelter instead of a department store. 3 days later, she had raised a whopping $43.
That's it. 43.
Half of it was probably from Kate and the rest from family members who hadn't caught on yet. Nobody else was buying her sob story. Then the comment section turned into a roast session. Someone dug up her old Instagram posts. Expensive dinners, wine trips, YSL bags, captions like "blessed to be spoiled," and "when Bae surprises me with Lewis." Her barely surviving narrative didn't stand a chance against screenshots of her bragging about being spoiled. Donations got pulled, the page got flagged, and GoFundMe shut it down for fraud. She went from asking for 10 grand to being publicly exposed as a scammer with less than $100 to show for it. While her fundraiser crashed and burned, her mom was cooking up her own brand of humiliation. Donna showed up to a lease hearing with Sandy and decided she'd speak for her daughter. My lawyer, James, was there and filled me in afterward. He said, Donna stood up in the middle of the session, loud and dramatic, claiming, "I only signed those papers to protect my daughter. She deserves stability and a safe home." The judge didn't even let her finish. He shut her down, telling her forgery was a crime, not protection. People in the gallery chuckled, and James said Donna's face turned bright red as she sank back into her seat. You can't buy that kind of humiliation. Getting corrected by a judge in front of strangers? That sticks. As if things couldn't get worse for them, I got a call that night from someone I never expected. Frederick, Sandy's dad. Divorced from Donna years ago. He'd never once contacted me during my relationship with Sandy. His voice was calm, tired, and brutally honest. "Evan, I wanted to apologize." He said, "I know what my daughter is like. I went through the exact same thing with her mother. False accusations, financial games, forgery. It's the same routine. You're handling it the right way.
Don't cave.
They'll push until they realize you won't break." Hearing that from him was like someone flipping on a light switch. It wasn't just Sandy being spoiled.
It was a cycle.
Donna ran this scam during their divorce. And now Sandy was running the same playbook on me. I told him I appreciated the honesty. He sighed, almost like he was warning me, and said, "She's already looking for the next guy." That's what they do. Cold words, but you could tell they came from experience. Meanwhile, Kate tried once again to resurrect the financial abuse narrative on Twitter. She typed up another rant about how I used money to keep Sandy trapped and how cutting off support after abuse is just another form of abuse.
But Twitter isn't Instagram.
The replies came fast. People started posting screenshots of Sandy's own texts. "I told you the restraining order would make him pay attention, but now he won't even pay my cards." Those screenshots spread like wildfire, and Kate was roasted so hard she deleted the post within hours. A few people even mocked her, suggesting she start a GoFundMe to cover Sandy's Netflix subscription.
The best part?
I didn't lift a finger. I never posted my side, never argued online, never tried to defend myself. I just lived my life. Signed up for cooking classes, started learning to make fresh pasta, bought myself an espresso machine, and posted a photo of dinner one night. While Sandy and Donna scrambled to spin a narrative that was collapsing faster than her credit score, I was enjoying peace, savings, and actual hobbies. Friends texted me links to her GoFundMe meltdown and Donna's courtroom disaster, asking, "Bro, did you see this?"
I shrugged. Not my problem. Because it wasn't.
For years, she told me I was too controlling with money, that I was holding her back. Now, the world was seeing what life looked like when nobody covered for her. She wasn't being held back. She was sinking under the weight of her own bad decisions. The harder she tried to paint me as the villain, the more obvious it became she was the architect of her own downfall. By the end of that week, she was broke, humiliated, and exposed. Her GoFundMe dead in the water. Her mom laughed out of court. Kate mocked off the internet. And her dad quietly admitting he'd seen this all before. Meanwhile, my savings account was fattening. My lawyer was giddy with how much evidence we had stacked up, and I was drinking lattes in peace, with the eviction clock still ticking loud. The countdown hit single digits before Sandy even realized the train was coming. Adrian, the property manager, kept me updated every step of the way. He almost seemed to enjoy it, probably because she'd been a headache for his staff too. She hasn't provided a guarantor. Hasn't qualified on her own. She's officially on notice, he told me in his usual upbeat tone. That was corporate speak for she's screwed. Eviction day landed on a Tuesday. I didn't bother showing up, but Adrian called afterward to give me the rundown. It was eventful, he said, pausing like he was deciding how much detail to share.
Then he unloaded.
Apparently, Sandy refused to pack anything until deputies were literally standing inside her apartment. She screamed about how she was being punished for being independent, which is funny because she hadn't paid a single bill without me in years. Donna was there too, waving her arms like an air traffic controller and insisting this was all a setup. The deputies didn't care.
They had a court order. They had a deadline.
And they weren't about to argue with two women who thought drama counted as a legal defense. Adrian said the neighbors came out to watch. Some filmed from their balconies. Imagine being the self-proclaimed spoiled and blessed girl on Instagram, only to be escorted out of your luxury apartment by sheriffs while people record it. That was her reality now. Within 48 hours, she and Donna were out, shoved into a cramped one-bedroom in a sketchy part of town. Granite countertops to peeling linoleum in less than a month. I thought maybe the humiliation would cool her down, but nope. A few days later, she tried something even dumber. Day 24, she showed up at my office. Yes, the same office where she'd had me served with the restraining order. Security spotted her immediately. They called me before letting her inside, and I told them to check my file. We already had a standing no trespass note on her. She wasn't allowed on company property.
Period.
What do you want us to do?
Security asked.
My answer was simple. Better call the cops. By the time officers showed up, she was in full meltdown mode in the lobby, crying, begging to talk, accusing me of destroying her life. The irony was almost painful. She'd filed legal papers saying I was abusive and dangerous. And now she was violating her own restraining order to beg me for help. She was cuffed for trespassing and causing a scene. Judges remember that kind of stunt. My coworkers saw it too. Some asked if it was really her. I just shrugged. I treated it like it worked both ways, but legally it didn't matter. What mattered was she wasn't allowed on company property. Security flagged her, called the cops, and since she refused to leave, it turned into a trespassing charge. She spent the night in jail, mugshot and all. Donna bailed her out the next morning, but they dug themselves a hole they couldn't climb out of. Violating the court's order and trespassing isn't just a bad look. It's a credibility killer. Judges remember that stuff. James, my lawyer, nearly clapped when I told him. She just tanked her entire case, he said. We couldn't have asked for a better development.
But Donna, being Donna, didn't stop there.
After bailing Sandy out, she stormed around the courthouse like she was rallying for some crusade. She even tried confronting James in the hallway, yelling about how I'd financially abandoned her daughter. James just smiled politely and reminded her she was still out on bail for forgery and identity theft. He said the courthouse staff were whispering about her tantrum all afternoon. Instead of scaring anyone, she looked like a clown. Meanwhile, my life only kept leveling up. I had money left over every month that used to vanish into her endless emergencies. Yeah, I bumped up my retirement contributions, picked up new hobbies, and even started planning a small vacation for myself. My coworkers noticed I seemed lighter, more relaxed. I didn't tell them the details, just said I'd made some financial changes. They had no idea those changes were basically me cutting a parasite off my account. The contrast was almost too perfect. On their side, eviction, arrest, criminal charges, social humiliation, broken friendships. On my side, upgrades, savings, peace, and freedom. For years, she told me I was too controlling about money. Turns out the only thing holding her together was my control. Take that away, and she collapsed like a Jenga tower on the first pull. Friends of hers went quiet too. Kate had vanished from social media after getting roasted for her failed financial abuse campaign. Others stopped texting me altogether. Probably didn't want to be dragged into subpoenas or admit they'd backed the wrong horse. The empire of Sandy was gone.
And me? I didn't need to gloat.
I didn't post anything or brag to friends. Just kept stacking evidence and sipping coffee while their world crumbled. The beauty of it was that I didn't have to fight. I just followed the rules. She thought she was playing chess. She didn't realize I was the one flipping the board. The eviction, the arrest, the courtroom embarrassment, it should have been the wake-up call. But people like Sandy and Donna don't wake up.
They just dig deeper.
A few weeks after the dust settled, word got around through mutuals that they were crammed into a one-bedroom rental in a sketchy part of town. No city view, no granite counters, no concierge service, just paper-thin walls and a leaky faucet. For a woman who once bragged about living like a queen, it was the downgrade of the century. Her credit score tanked to the low 400s. Every attempt to apply for new housing got shot down the second landlords saw her background check. The repossession, the eviction, the court filings, they all show up fast. She went from luxury handbags to folding shirts at a department store for $14 an hour. And even that job wasn't glamorous. People recognized her from the GoFundMe fiasco. Someone told me she had to quit after a coworker joked about starting a Help Sandy Pay for Netflix fundraiser. Her new relationship wasn't much better. She latched onto some poor guy named Gary, already asking him for money 2 months in. I heard about it from Frederick, who called me one more time just to say, she's working her way through the same routine. The new guy doesn't even realize it yet. He sounded more exhausted than angry. That's when it hit me.
This wasn't a one-time disaster.
This was who she was and who Donna had raised her to be.
Speaking of Donna, her charges stuck.
She pled out to forgery and identity theft. Ended up with probation, fines, and community service. The woman who used to sneer at me for not being man enough to treat her daughter like royalty was now scrubbing graffiti off city walls in an orange vest. Sometimes the universe really does balance the books. Meanwhile, I was thriving. With all that money freed up, I boosted my investments, built a solid emergency fund, and treated myself without guilt. I picked up new hobbies, reconnected with old friends, and actually had time to breathe. People around me noticed, too. My coworkers said I looked 10 years younger. My family said I seemed calmer, sharper, and they weren't wrong. Cutting off a parasite doesn't just save your bank account, it saves your sanity.
The restraining order? Still active.
She tried to have it dismissed, but the judge looked at her violation record and laughed it off. For your own protection, it stays, he said. That one line might have been the final nail. The weapon she thought would trap me turned into the wall that kept her out of my life, and I had no reason to take it down. Every once in a while, I'd run into people who used to be in her circle. Kate tried to duck away from me at a grocery store once. I didn't let her off the hook. "How's Sandy doing?" I asked with a straight face. She looked like she wanted to melt into the cereal aisle. "She's working, living with her mom."
I nodded and said, "Good for her.
Sounds like independence is working out."
She had no comeback.
That's when I realized something important. I didn't need revenge. They were doing it to themselves. Every lie they told, every scam they tried, every tantrum they threw, it all backfired. All I had to do was stay calm, follow the rules, and let them self-destruct. To anyone reading this who's ever been in a similar spot, don't play their game.
Don't argue. Don't beg.
Don't try to save someone who doesn't want to be saved.
Protect yourself.
Document everything and let them face their own consequences. People like Sandy want your money, not your partnership. People like Donna want control, not fairness. And when they push too far, the best response isn't rage.
It's compliance.
Enthusiastic, complete, unbreakable compliance. She filed a restraining order, thinking it would leash me. Instead, it cut her off from the only lifeline she had.
She wanted space? She got the whole universe.
She wanted my money without me and ended up with neither.
And me?
I walked away lighter, richer, and freer than I'd been in years. Her downfall wasn't my revenge.